The African Mining Indaba, taking place this week in Cape Town, is actually underway. Mineral Resources Minister officially opening the three-day affair. Let's take a listen to some of the points brought out by the Minister Mantashe's address. Take a look.
I always make the point that mining is as good as the performance of the individual mines. If the mines are not operational, are not making money, many of the things we dream about will not happen. It is profitable mines that make benefits accrue to the various stakeholders, right from the shareholder to the community and to the workers. In the past 2 years, there has been signs of recovery in demand, resulting in an upswing in some of the commodities. Particularly the prices of a number of these commodities. The future, however, remains uncertain, with the World Bank predicting global growth rate to slow this year to 2.9%. And furthermore, emerging market currencies, such as the rand, are also expected to experience quite a testing year and a lot of volatility as a currency. As South Africa, we remain optimistic given the performance of the economy, considering that we managed to come out of a technical recession in the last quarter of 2018 with a 2.2% growth, which was quite a good signal. We're hoping that we can build on that and grow faster. This was mainly due to higher contribution to growth by several industries, most notable agriculture, manufacturing, transport, finance and business services. I'm making this point to indicate that in taking the country out of the recession, the contribution of the mining industry was not a positive one, which requires us to invest more in mining, contribute more. The contribution of the South African mining to the GDP is around 7%, but this contribution to the earning of foreign earnings is about 40%, which makes it quite a significant sector in the industry. Our hope is that we can grow the contribution to the GDP up to 10% in the next 3 to 5 years, and in the process, earn more foreign earnings for South Africa.
There we have it with the Minerals Minister just opening up the Mining Indaba in Cape Town. For more analysis on this particular one, I'm joined in the studio by Mamokgethi Molopyane, who is a labor and mining analyst. I hope I said the name right.
Mamokgethi.
I got it right. I did. Thank you. Just give me a sense of what you're actually looking out for this particular Mining Indaba.
Well, this is, besides being the 25th anniversary of it, one is looking for clarity on regulation and policy, particularly for South Africa, but also not just for South Africa, to hear conversations between the rest of African ministers, particularly Zimbabwe, also itself about what it's looking forward to in terms of mining and its regulation also. And I think it's very key that the regulator, Minister Mantashe, emphasize or clarifies the matter of the charter. I know it's almost wrapped up, but finality on it, I think, is important. As we have seen last year, the industry said we need more clarity on this. And secondly, I think it's important and critical that within this Indaba comes out clarity again on how mining companies' relationship with mine hosting communities are going to be developed moving forward, but also how the regulator, the DMR itself, is going to handle the tension between itself and some of mine hosting communities. It's
interesting you do bring in the communities, because just last year we had this particular standoff, Sibanye-Stillwater, AMCU, just having this back and forth, whether or not AMCU has a point here. It does paint the industry in this holistic manner, regardless of whether it is one party just at loggerheads here. Do you get the sense that the trade unions are at this Indaba, or it's just the boys in the suits?
Well, they are, and I say this because the NUM earlier today tweeted and also said on its Facebook status that its president, Joseph Montise, will be speaking either today or tomorrow at the Mining Indaba. So perhaps there is a positiveness in this. And I say this because for the past, 3 years, there hasn't really been a voice of trade union leaders speaking at the Indaba. In fact, somebody might say they have never spoken at the Indaba.
That's my issue. Where's the Matunjo of this world at such an Indaba? Because let's face it, the workers do have arguably the biggest stake in this particular minerals industry.
Yes, it's critical that trade unions be involved. I know from experience that often the conveners would say we have invited unions, but AMCU either has declined or will not participate. But I think this is a key platform for labor to put their issues on stage, on a global stage, but also let potential mining investors who are coming into South Africa know that in terms of Southern Africa, it matters that as you look to invest, you engage communities. It's not simply just about profit taking. You engage communities because there is a historical context of mining exploiting workers in South Africa, and that is critical, that labor is at the Mining Indaba.
Away from the exploitation, there's also the aspect, on the other hand, of labor for the massive jobs that the mining industry has been bleeding in the past 2 years. 13,000 jobs. Rustenburg, it's almost a ghost town right now. Lonmin and Sibanye Stillwater, this agreement that they had. AMCU saying that over 10,000 jobs might be shed. Sibanye saying another thing. Is this something that might actually be addressed here?
It won't, but key CEOs and key stakeholders in the companies and in the industry might touch upon it a bit, but to go into details about it, no. But it is important perhaps that the stakeholders, particularly the business side of mining, emphasize how it's going to resolve these issues, even if it's just a passing point, so that there is a sense of business is interested in addressing the issues of retrenchments that are coming, and that they are consulting, because often the argument is that the consultative processes were not long enough or did not unfold properly. So I think in here it's important a picture emerge that we are engaging workers or those involved in terms of retrenchments that are coming. Of course, we understand the global commodities is facing a difficult time. When you look at the platinum metals group, they are being hammered. Platinum is being hammered at the moment. I do not see it picking up, and I do not, understandably so, because of it being recycled and the catalyst being able to be recycled and reused. So obviously, South Africa being the biggest producer of platinum will mean they are severely impacted as such. One is not surprised that companies are going to say, we are going to have to restructure operations. It is nothing new. They have been restructuring their operations. But I do expect, as the year unfolds, more retrenchments in the mining sector, particularly in the platinum groups, unless, of course, some sort of merger and a new investor comes into play. It's difficult. You've heard also the Minerals Council of South Africa, formerly Chamber of Mines, saying the gold sector in South Africa is declining. Historically, it's been here for a while. And so the future of mining, gold particularly in South Africa, is precarious at the moment. And so we will see how it unfolds. One looks forward to hearing what the gold CEOs are going to say on this.
Fascinating, without a doubt. And just last week, gold was just over 1,300, with all this volatility in the market. Of course, gold is always a safe place to run. But one story that was fascinating just last week, I think, was South Africa being on the brink of a huge discovery of the shores. It might be on the Indian Ocean side. And this leaves me wondering, at such an Indaba, is it a platform for exploration, not just focusing on upstream vis-a-vis downstream, but looking at exploration at this particular time when the gold industry is actually under so much pressure? Is it time to look into the gas and the oil deposits that South Africa could have? We're looking at possibilities of having 3 billion barrels in the ocean.
Yes, it's critical that we look to diversify. The argument has always been that the South Africa mining industry must diversify itself and must really move away, where possible, from the precious metal dependence that it has come to be known for. However, the reality is that as we have seen with moving into avenues such as gas and oil, it's going to be met with challenges of environmental issues, as we have known and we have seen when it emerged that there might be potentiality for fracking. So this is a critical time for the regulator, I think, not just of mining, but of energy. These two regulators are going to have to decide and engage communities and engage stakeholders as to, if we are to diversify mining, seeing that it is an industry in decline, how are we going to do it without A, impacting the environment, and B, causing as much harm as possible to the environment? That's a tricky one, but yes, it's important that South Africa diversify its mining industry away from what it has always depended on, gold and platinum.